Big win for your Pacers last night. Avoided the allegations. More important than winning the NBA Cup is not losing to the Pistons.
Were we talking about Pacers allegations?
You can wait on your Pacers allegations. We'll discuss that later. No, I know that you didn't watch the game, so we'll talk. Based on your tweet to me earlier, I was like, you didn't watch the game. So
Fraud Reese Halifaker? What?
Yeah, that's why they lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a whole list of things to talk about. Let's hop right into it. Actually, let's just hit the ground running. Later this week, I will be releasing last year's version of the Low Post Christmas special that Sam cooked up. In a little bit of time, we will have on the Patreon the new version of the Low Post Christmas special that Sam will be cooking up over the course of the next few weeks. Sam, do you want to tell anyone about the Patreon special that we will be running, the new Low Post Christmas special that you've been cooking up?
So we're all, everybody watches sports. It's very masculine coded, and I wanted to tap into that audience. I wanted to get something very gritty, very masculine. So I went with the two most gritty masculine things: podcasting and musicals.
That's right.
And we are going to blend them together into a beautiful, so masculine it's almost misogynistic, but we pull it back at the last second. And that's kind of what I'm going for. So the Low Post Christmas special, the musical, it's the Low Post Christmas special, colon the musical. We will be trotting that out here at some point. Now, did I overestimate how good of a singer I am? And am I listening to some of what I've recorded so far? And it might be a problem, maybe, but that's a problem for me to figure out between now and release date. So I feel like it'll be good. It'll be good by that point.
I trust that it will turn out well. Last year's, for anyone who will hear it later this week on the Ball regular feed, will know it's one of the most deranged and hilarious. And honestly, I'm concerned that we might go to prison once it is released into the public. It's been behind a Patreon wall for a year.
The Simmons shock troopers will rappel in. Nephew Kyle will kick the door in like SEAL Team 6 and Osama bin Laden style dome me and then take the hard drive. Like there's gonna be this might be the end. The jig might be up, as they say. So
yep.
Enjoy guys, because we're gonna try and get at least one more Low Post Christmas special out here before I'm canceled.
Let's go
by the Ringer.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for everyone to hear this. And I'm also excited to talk this episode. We're on playback right now, recording live. You can watch us every Monday or Tuesday early in the week. We are recording live episodes of Ball, and we're going to hop right into this episode and talk a little bit about our favorite thing that we love to talk about. The Most Valuable Player Award, which we actually did a good job of avoiding talking about this until the quarter way of the season. On the last Patreon episode, we did our awards for the season, and we talked about some of the candidates for this award. Now, it's important to bring this up because I have listened to some other podcasts, including Sam Vecini's podcast, which Sam's great, and obviously the Low Post, our guy Zach, has also talked about this. In the last week, there have been a lot of podcasts that are starting to pop up with the MVP discourse. And the one thing that I noticed on most of these podcasts is that Joel Embiid has zero negative chance to win MVP this year. It's below the dirt, his chances to win MVP. And honestly, before the season, we both said this when we did our MVP episode. We said there's no way. After he won it last year and Jokic wins the finals and Jokic is, crowned the best player in the world and he didn't get his third straight MVP last year, they're going to give it to Jokic or another person that pops up. And honestly, through a month and a half of this season, Joel Embiid has been better than he was last year, and he's been arguably the best player in the NBA this year in a way that I didn't really see coming. And I know that it's going to be an incredibly hard uphill battle, but at a minimum, if you look at advanced stats, if you look at the Sixers record when Joel plays, which is now 14-4, I believe, when he plays in the games, including some good wins in there against the Thunder and the Celtics and some of the best teams in the NBA. All of the stats across the board, he's been arguably the best player in the NBA. And I actually think, we talked about it last week, Jokic and SGA are really the only other two that have an argument against him.
Yeah, for at least for right now. And I think that makes things a little bit sloppy because Jokic is probably having his worst season in, 3 seasons? He's still very good, but
he's still insanely good. But
yeah.
But he had to, in the last week, he has had 2 of his worst games that we've seen from you. We've become accustomed to Jokic being the most efficient player in the NBA. We've become accustomed to him being a monster across the board in terms of scoring efficiency. And he had his 2 back-to-back worst scoring games of his career in the past week. So, I mean, look, he's bounced back, and I'm sure he'll be fine. Did you see the theory about Jokic?
No. About the elections and
the Serbian politician?
I mean, look, we don't get into politics in this podcast. Miss Lipa, if you would like me to comment on this, please reach out.
Especially in the Balkans. We avoid
talking about Balkan politics. Miss Lipa, I will change this for you if you would just reach out, return my text.
She's too busy getting drunk with Seth Meyers. I don't know if you saw that video, but
I did.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I know.
What a hideous little imp, Seth Meyers.
Well, my entire feed is now Dua Lipa content because I retweeted one of Sam's tweets where he was thirsting over her. So
mine's all that too, but that's because I'm her boyfriend. So we're keeping it down low. So that works out great for me. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is there any legs to that? Because that just kind of seemed to me like that was Nuggets Cope. That was Nugs posting, if you will, about what was going on with Jokic.
What happened was Jokic co-signed some politician that's a controversial figure, I guess, in an election that's happening in Serbia. And ever since then, because people in Serbia were giving him shit over it, he was playing poorly. But he also bounced back last night and has been totally fine. He had 2 bad games. It's also we know Jokic doesn't give a shit until December 15th anyway. Hello, Dewey. We know Jokic doesn't give a shit until December 15th anyway. And he kind of does this every single year. And while it's probably too early to talk MVP and who's been the best player in the NBA this year, if it weren't for the end of last year and the way that the playoffs went, the fact that Jokic got what a lot of people see as perceived robbed of the MVP, then I do think that the argument would be in Embiid's favor to start the year. I think that Embiid right now, like I said, is playing better than last year when he won MVP. His numbers are up across the board. He's averaging more points, more rebounds, more assists, more steals, more blocks. He, in the month of December for these games, is averaging 40 points a game in the last. Now, 2 of them were against the Wizards. One of them he got pulled early because it was a blowout, but he's averaging 40 points a game over the last 3. He didn't have his usual slow start that he usually has. So I think that there really isn't any sort of argument against Joel not having a case of being the best player in the NBA to start the season.
No, I mean he would be in the conversation if it weren't for the media angle on this. I mean, I hate to say that, but I feel like I can say it as the unaffiliated Celtics fan of the podcast that the all of the Embiid
as our resident BMM member.
Yes, as a member of the Boston Media Mafia, it is clearly I should be slandering Joel Embiid. I think that it is one of these things where everyone trips over their dick every fucking year to go, it's a regular season award. It's a regular season award. And for some reason, Joel Embiid's the only one who's like held to this different standard because he does have these underwhelming like playoff exits. And it's like, well, okay. So, because what happened last year was Jokic was running away with it, stopped trying. The Nuggets stopped trying. Things tightened up at the end of the year. Jokic was the one who kind of had this slant on him at the end of last year where it was like, can you really give a guy 3 MVP, 3 in a row? Like, so he had to kind of separate himself to win the award, and he didn't. It ended up being about the same at the end of the year, and it went to Embiid. So I think if we, and what I said, I think what we both said coming to this year is that Embiid could win the MVP, but he would need to set himself so clear in a way that he's never done in his career before. And to be clear, he hasn't done that yet, with the other candidates either. Like he's still in a mix with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with Jokic, with these other guys. But it's possible, like right now in the season, that he could separate himself, and I think he could. He does have a chance. I wouldn't have thought before the year that he would have a chance because I would think he would top out at being about the same as Jokic. And I think that there is a chance he plays better than Jokic because Jokic just looks, not great. So, and I don't know. I don't know how good the Thunder would need to be for how long for me to take Shai's candidacy seriously. So I don't really know where I would vote, but I think if I were to vote, if you were to ask me to vote this day on the season based on expectations coming into the year, based on what's happened so far, based on changes and everything like that, I think I might vote for Embiid if you put a gun to my head right now, today.
I think that it comes down to those 3 candidates. And I do think that Ben Taylor pointed this out on his Thinking Basketball podcast.
Yeah.
Guys who start really well and then kind of fall down the stretch, like Jokic did last year.
Yeah.
Historically do not have as good of chances as the guys who do the reverse. So guys who have slow starts, maybe the first month of their season, they're playing below their expectations. They're playing below the level of player that they could possibly be. And then by the end of the year, they really flip the switch when people start caring more about the NBA, when football season winds down and the ratings start to go up and trade deadlines here and all-star game and playoffs and blah, blah, blah. And that's what Joel's path was to the MVP last year. The argument for Joel being on this path to win MVP and the argument for Joel to make his claim as the best player in the NBA during the regular season is that he, like I said, he has been better than he was last year. I think his defense has been better, especially in earlier in the year before he was out with this recent illness. His passing has been better. His team, the offense, has been better despite the fact that they lost James Harden, which a lot of people were docking him for the fact that he got to play with James Harden. And yes, Tyrese Maxey is making this all-star leap, but the Sixers have an offense that is much better than any offense they've ever had. They're typically have been a team that wins with defense and is good enough on offense until last year when they had the 3rd ranked offense in the NBA. And now they have the 2nd ranked offense in the NBA with a way better offensive rating. Their offensive rating compared to the league average is 7.5 points per 100 possessions above league average. And a large part of that is Embiid playing with these guys that are in more of a collective system where, the ball gets spread around a lot more. It gets Embiid into his spots, and his scoring has been absolutely insane to start the year. It's actually pretty similar on a per possession basis than it was last year. He's actually led the NBA in per possession scoring for 4 straight seasons now, Joel Embiid. But the thing that has been most impressive to me is the fact that the playmaking has gone up a level. But back to the whole MVP thing, I do think that what people are saying is true in the comments, which is basically he has to have a playoff run of some sorts, whether that's having a conference finals run, making it to the finals, winning the finals. He has to have that before they give him that same recognition that they gave him before. And the historical examples that I could think of when it comes to this award and when it comes to a player who was an MVP and then was not given another MVP. The two guys that I could think of, and Ben Taylor mentioned one on his podcast, which was David Robinson. David Robinson had an MVP season in the middle of the 90s. He was, as we discussed last year, the calculator rat favorite, the IBM award. Mm-hmm. And then he got to the playoffs and he had a matchup against Hakeem Olajuwon, and he got absolutely destroyed in that matchup. And then the next year, he didn't win MVP. He came in second place. So there's still a chance for Joel to finish top 2 or 3, even though on some of these podcasts I was hearing guys like Giannis and KD and all these other guys being included ahead of him. And I just don't agree with that based on what we've seen so far in this season. But the other example I could think of was Giannis. Giannis a few years ago he wins 2 back-to-back MVPs. They're the best regular season team. They win 60 games. They go to the bubble and they get destroyed by the Miami Heat. Giannis has one of his worst series in the playoffs, and he doesn't win the next year. And then in order to get back into that MVP conversation, he had to go and win the finals and win finals MVP. And now it's fine to say Giannis could win MVP again because he proved himself on the highest stage. So I think that's what Embiid has to do personally, especially if you consider the fact that Jokic and Giannis have now won titles. They've both had 2 MVPs. And they've proven to be at higher stages, better players than Joel Embiid, that he has to do that. But I still think that this is his best season in the NBA. And like, I never expected him to get any better, but I think that there has been real improvements from him on as a self-creator and as a creator for others. And I think that's really the next step that he needed to take to become, less of a flawed player, I would say.
Well, and I think it's, he's not going to be both held back or buoyed. You know what I'm saying? Like Maxey is not is clearly the B tier star. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still clearly Joel Embiid's team. So there's no danger of like it being like, well, Maxey is the real, you know what I'm saying? Like you kind of had a little bit of that with Harden. You definitely had a little bit of that with Ben back in the day. Like, and now this is a team that actually had kind of negative expectations coming into the year and is, quote unquote, like overperforming based on like where they like kind of should be. Again, I think some of that will go away later on, once people wrap their heads around, okay, like Philly is good and a contender, then, you kind of lose some of this, like SGA is going to get points for this, right? Like
sure.
Where there's, this OKC team, they're so far ahead of schedule, like play-in team last year. Like he didn't play for a year and a half. Then he's here. They almost make they did make the play-in last year. They made the play-in.
They made the play-in. They lost in the second play-in game because they were the lower seed.
That's right. Lost the second play-in game. Now they're back. They're a good regular season team now. It's looking like they're probably going to have home court come the end of the year, barring something going on. So, and that's going to be the Bill Simmons. That's going to be the Boomers. The Boomers are going to rally around Shea. The calculator rats are going to stay with Jokic. But the thing is, like, does anybody, the contrarians like me, are going to be rallying around Embiid to kind of make the point, like, well, you guys bitched and moaned about how this was a regular season award for years and years and years. And I think Joel Embiid is one of the only people who's kind of held to this different standard. And Giannis was going to be the one that I brought up.
Yeah, he
and
was
how
the other
stupid
one.
that is.
Yeah.
How stupid that is looking back on it that he didn't win 3 in a row, because we were all like, oh, well, he never won a playoff series. And then he like literally wins the title the year he didn't win it, like, so it's.
Well, the thing is that what it gets back to here is the question is the MVP a curse? Because it's I think the last guy, if I remember this correctly, you could prove me wrong here if I'm wrong. Yeah. But I think the last guy to win the MVP and the finals in the same season as the best player on a team was Steph Curry the first Golden State year.
I think you're probably right about that.
Because Harden, Westbrook, Giannis didn't win either of his years. Jokic didn't win either of his years. Embiid, obviously, last year. And then the ones before that were Steph Curry's awards, and they didn't win the second time when he was the unanimous MVP. But the first year when he was MVP, they won the NBA Finals. It's been almost a decade.
Wikipedia very conveniently sorts this by list. So it's Steph Curry in 14-15, and then the 2 LeBron James Heat years he won MVP. And then so 11 to 13. Then you have to go all the way back to Duncan in 02-03. Then you got to go back to Shaq for the Lakers in 99, 2000. Then you've got a lot of like Michael Jordan. There's Hakeem Olajuwon in here. And then it's like more normal. There's Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Moses Malone sneaks in there on one of them. But it's something that is reserved for those guys we just listed for recent history. Steph, LeBron, Tim Duncan, Shaq,
and Michael Jordan.
Shaq
and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's
all top 10 guys of all time.
Yes. So, or at least at the minimum 12, probably 10 though.
So what I'm trying to say here is that if you want to win the finals, Joel, don't even campaign this year. he said on Maxie's podcast, he was like, I want to win everything. I want to win finals MVP. I want to win MVP. I want to win defensive player of the year, blah, blah, blah. But I do think that there is at least a little bit, there is at least a little bit of, it might be better off saving your energy for, it's like the Warriors, they won the Steph unanimous year. They burned themselves out in the regular season. Like we see teams do this all the time. Joel burns himself out constantly trying to play as many games so he can make all NBA and be up for the MVP and blah, 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 and all this stuff. So, I have just some things right here. Currently, he is second in BPM behind Jokic, which, as we know, is an award. It is a
perfect metric.
It's an analytic that is really like Jokic is having the best. Every year he gets better in BPM. It's like he just never stops going up. It's like no one will ever have a better BPM than Jokic. He's just designed to dominate that metric. In EPM, estimated plus minus, which is a little bit different, Embiid is one spot ahead of Jokic and one spot behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's having a fantastic season. And now the argument for Shai is interesting because we talked about it a little bit on the last episode. He's a guy who's averaging 30 points per game, an efficient 30 points per game, and he leads the league in steals by almost twice as many as the next guy. Like he's at like almost 3 steals per game this season. And the thing that really shocked me, because a lot of the on-off stuff is going to be used in favor of Jokic, and rightfully so. It's Embiid and Jokic always have like insane on-offs. Jokic they're always historical.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that's unfair to Shai is that Shai's on-offs aren't quite as good because of certain guys that he plays with on his team. Like, I went through and I looked at, if you just remove from Shai's lineups, like, I talked about the fact that Isaiah Joe and Kaysen Wallace come in off the bench for Dort and Giddey. And then Shai has a more normal team around him when those guys play, especially Josh Giddey. It is amazing to look at some of the on-offs for these guys. Now, in 322 minutes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Josh Giddey have a plus 7.8 net rating when they play together. If you remove Josh Giddey from that, in 149 minutes, Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have a plus 25.48 net rating, which would basically be double or triple the best team in the NBA per 100 possessions.
Oh my God.
Now, you can find this combination on basically any team with good players, but my whole point on this is that even if you remove Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren from the lineup, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the season in 196 minutes is plus 21.75. So he is absolutely dominating when you remove the shitters from the court. Like, he is dragging these guys that are not nearly as good. And when he has guys who have better kind of suit his skill set, like Isaiah Joe, an elite shooter, Kaysen Wallace, who's just an all-around great role player and really good defender, it's proved to be very positive for the team. And the team is kind of holding back, I feel like, their full potential. And Shea and Chet kind of have to overcome this. And Shea specifically, I think just based on the on-offs, based on the raw stats, based on when you watch the games, I think that of all these guys, like I think Halliburton was the other guy we mentioned as having a chance at MVP, but there aren't many other guys in the NBA that when you watch the games have clearly the most effect on their team as Shea. It's like Jokic, Embiid, and Shea are like the three that when I really watch, it feels like on a night-to-night basis, they're constantly like dominating games and proving to be worthy MVP candidates. But that's really what Embiid is up against. It's in my opinion, through these games, those are the only two that could really win. Now, some down ballot guys, sure. So Giannis and Hallie were the two guys I discussed last week. I don't know if you saw this. Some people were bringing up LeBron.
Okay. That
would be the Lifetime Achievement Award MVP, I think.
Is on its face absurd. I'm sorry. Like, that's his recency bias because of the IST. Like, if LeBron played like this the whole year, it's not that great, like he'd probably be in the mix. That won't happen. He's old now. He's going to miss. He might not qualify for the awards by the time the end of the year comes around. Like, honestly, like he could just end up missing, like he's not the Terminator anymore. He could end up missing like 16 games and suddenly he's in danger of being under the threshold. Like,
I think he's played almost all their games so far, which is wild. Yeah,
he has. And he's near the top in like minutes per game too. Yeah, minutes played. He is, I guess not top 10, but he's up there.
He's playing 33 minutes a game, 22 games played so far, averaging 25, 7.5, and 6.6. Those are really good numbers, and they're incredible when you consider where LeBron is at in his career. Because I think the second best person at his age in terms of points per game at 38 going on to 39 years old was Vince Carter, who averaged 7.5 points per game. Yeah. So he's tripling what Vince Carter did at his age. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. It's surreal LeBron is still as good as he is. And honestly, I know this might sound bad because I still think you should give the award to whoever the best player was. But if there was anyone they ever gave a Lifetime Achievement MVP to, I wouldn't be mad if they did it for LeBron. I really just couldn't be. Like,
I mean, he probably did loot though. Derek Rozier, he probably should have. He probably he had the Embiid. By the way, that's another case of like media pissing off the media and like losing your MVP for it. Like,
because he lost in the finals the year before. Was that the same year, or was it his first year in Miami because of the decision they were mad at him?
That was the first year about the decision, and then there was the cream on top that Dirk won, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very pleased with that, but that result as well. Someone who's getting my ass beat by LeBron, the Celtics were, oh God, and I'm still mad about what happened the next year. But I really think I think it would be fine, but like I just really don't think it's going to be close at all. Like, I know he's probably like fifth, fourth, something like that in like VORP and a lot of these like single metric advanced analytics. He's somewhere in that mix.
He's fourth in EPM right now. He's fourth in EPM. He's also, like you said, I don't think this is sustainable just because of his age. And I think that he knows when to pick his spots and how that really can kind of benefit him, especially when everyone has their eyes on the NBA right now because of the in-season tournament. And the fact that it's early in the year, he's really kind of putting all of his juice into that. And it's incredible to see. Having said, like, I still think you should give it to the best guy, but if there was anyone that ever were to get a Lifetime Achievement Award MVP, even if it's 12 years later, 13 years later, being sorry we gave it to Derrick Rose instead, I would be fine with LeBron, but I do think that Embiid, Jokic, and SGA have been a tier above even what LeBron has done so far this season. But the context of LeBron doing it at his age is, I mean, it's like, okay, if we go throughout history and you go peak for age, all right, best 19-year-old, best 20-year-old, best 21-year-old, by the end, he's going to have like 10 of those seasons.
Yeah, really.
Like,
no, for real.
It's by far the greatest career we've ever seen. Like, I think Zach Lowe said it after they won the bubble championship with LeBron, where it was like, when they won the bubble championship, and he said, you're getting to the point where he's going to break this record. He's going to break the all-time scoring record. He's going to break the minutes record. He's going to break this and that. And then it's just going to be hard to argue against a guy who does this for 20 plus years and also has one of the greatest peaks of all time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he might have. It's getting pretty hard to be a Jordan guy. Let me put it that way. If you're going to make that the GOAT argument, like, it's getting pretty hard. So,
I mean, I still think that he'd have to either win the finals this year or something to really cement it, like to make it like pretty much inarguable.
Yeah, I'm in a hard spot because my whole thing is that like the NBA gets exponentially better every year, and like. Right. Even like all-time great teams from like the 80s or even the 90s are just would, so LeBron would be. LeBron is 87. This fucker, he won't go on much longer. Thank God.
Someone tweeted that in 2015 about LeBron. Like, we're still here with him all these years later, still doing this. It's absolutely insane. But yeah.
Jordan never had 2011. That's true, but also
I also think that's
more like cope all the time.
Also, I think it's the worst argument in the world to say that someone had a bad finals and they shouldn't be considered, because what about all the years that guys don't make the finals? Like, would you rather make the finals and have a bad finals or lose in the first round? That's the worst argument. It's the same thing that people used to do with Brady. Oh, well, Montana never lost. And it's like, all right, well, Brady got his
10 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
or Super Bowls or something like that.
It's on its face a dumb argument. Like, it's like I guarantee you, Michael Jordan would have rather gone 6-5 in the finals than go 6-0. Like, you always want to get yourself to the highest level. Like, and also like Jordan never had those, but he also didn't have he retired earlier than LeBron multiple times.
I've got the deciding argument right here. He had a shadow suspension for gambling. Jordan did. LeBron James, under his watch, gambling legal in sports.
True.
Checkmate.
Yeah.
Checkmate.
And they won the only in-season tournament ever in Las Vegas, the home of gambling. So
So do you have any idea? I guarantee you Michael Jordan wouldn't have won anything in Las Vegas. I can guarantee you that.
He would have had. Austin Reeves had his flu game the other night. LeBron was also sick before that game.
Yeah.
Jordan would have been calling out that game. Sorry, I'm at the tables right now.
By the way, how long until we get like the thing that like Jordan is desperately trying to buy into the Vegas expansion team's ownership group? Like, he's gonna be back, baby. Jordan is back.
Sold his share in the Charlotte Hornets just before expansion. Just before expansion to Las Vegas. Very curious.
Pretty interesting. Yeah.
I mean, all I'm saying is that Sheldon Adelson's family just bought into the Dallas Mavericks. They're not going to own the Las Vegas team. If they're from Vegas. They owned a newspaper in Vegas, the Adelsons, because it talked shit on them. They bought it. That's the kind of family that would buy into the Vegas team if they knew they had a chance. They have no chance against Jordan.
No, they can't win. I want to read this tweet that Dan just sent in the chat. It's LeBron. It's age 30. This is from 2015. So LeBron's age 30 season, and he's 3 games away from a championship. In his age 30 season, MJ hit 202 with 114 strikeouts. Let's go. Perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, we got off on a tangent there, but I just don't think it's realistic. Yes. I just don't think it's realistic for LeBron. I mean, here's the thing I will say. There is also a pretty good chance LeBron could look around and be like, realizing the Lakers aren't winning shit this year and do the Denzel Washington, I'm leaving with something. And just, leave it all out there for the regular season. Like, that's possible. Like, if he's in contact and we get into like January, February, I think it's possible LeBron like looks around and goes, you know what? Fuck it. We're not winning the championship. I'm leaving with something. Like that might happen.
I could see it right now. February 26th. It's February 26th. Hoop Collective podcast. Ramona comes on as guest, and Wendy's like, "Listen, you could give it to Jokic, you could give it to Embiid, you could give it to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or you could give it to the greatest player in the history of the NBA, who is doing things at his age that we have never seen anyone do before, and he is doing it despite the fact that the Lakers are giving him no help. They don't trade for anyone at the deadline or whatever. He's just dragging them the relevancy. His on-offs are crazy. He has the media in his corner. And once again, like I said, if they're going to do it for anyone, I'm fine with doing it for LeBron James. But I still think that if the basis of the award is the best player in the NBA, LeBron is not. I don't even think he's top 5 anymore. Like, I think that he's in that like 6 to 10 range. I know he was amazing, but he hasn't done it like this in like 3 years. Like, it's been years since he's done what he's doing. Even during their playoff run last year, he was their second best player. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just tough. By the way, Donovan Mitchell and Karis LeVert for LeBron James works in the trade machine. Stay woke. Just saying.
Why would the Cavs do that, though? You could probably get a better return than... I know that sounds insane. You could get a better return than LeBron James, but, like, do we really think he's going to be playing till he's 50? Like, he's...
We've said it before. I don't know. Let's see.
Well, I guess it's just like the Brady thing where I just have to stop doubting him. Like... Yeah. Like, it's just insane.
He's going to be retired for 2 years, and I'm going to be like, is he coming? It's going to be like the same thing with the Brady thing. Like, there's going to be an injury or something like that. And I'm going to be like, is LeBron coming back?
Yeah, exactly.
Got a hole at small forward.
Yeah.
Is he coming back? Like,
to put a bow on the Embiid part of this conversation, the Sixers are currently 14-4 when Joel Embiid plays. They are 0-3 when he doesn't play. Now, 3 of those games were against good teams. They were against the Pelicans, all 3 of those games. Pelicans, Timberwolves, and Celtics. But they have not won a game without him so far. Also, when Oubre and Batum are both healthy, they are currently 6-0. And yes, a few of those wins were against the worst teams in the NBA. But like you said, Denzel Washington, I'm leaving here with something.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't want to undersell Embiid's greatness of what he's done for now the 4th year in a row. I think at worst case scenario, he comes in 3rd place for MVP. But look, man, all it takes is one run, and I'm sick of waiting, and I hope that he has it in him. And I guess we'll see. It's what Nihilus Buck said to me, because I don't know if you've been following with what Nihilus Bucks has been doing, but basically he loves to do this thing where he says what NB loves to do is he says the Bucks suck, their defense is trash, their coach isn't good, they're
agreed.
And all this shit, and despite all this, they're still like 16-7 or whatever. And
is he making a Giannis case with that? Is that
no? He's not making a Giannis case. He's just saying these things in general. And then when I say I think the Sixers could beat them in a playoff series, he says Bernie can still win.
There we go.
It's just like I guess I'm starting to get sick of, and I talked about this a little bit on the last episode with the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Where I'm starting to get sick of, if the regular season is so devalued to the point where the team with the best net rating in the NBA, the Sixers, can't even be taken seriously as a contender, but the Miami Heat, who are currently in the play-in, can be taken seriously as a contender, then what is the point of the regular season in the NBA anymore?
It's not. That's why we just had a fucking IST, because everyone was figuring this out, because there's no sport where this is more clear than the NBA.
It might be baseball.
I mean, in baseball, but like the thing is with baseball is that like it is a like they play 2 games in a day in fucking baseball, like all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like it's literally called the national pastime, not the national sport, the national pastime. It's like, oh, you want to like
washed.
you want to stumble into a building and come out 3 hours later. Need a reason to drink for 3 hours somewhere in the sun. Like that's like literally what baseball is. That's what I did when I was an alcoholic. That's why I've been to 7 times as many Mets games in my life as Red Sox games, despite being a Red Sox fan. Because that was the coolest thing to do was to go.
That's how you know you have a
City
problem.
Field. Yeah, you just go to City Field and watch. It was awesome, man. I would get pissed when the Mets were good because it meant the tickets were more expensive. I was like, fuck.
You were in piss and shit the World Series year. I lived in New York, so I think you did too.
Bad. Yeah, no, it was. No, that was the year I couldn't go because they couldn't go the year after. Luckily, they ended up bad again, so that was that was good. But yeah, I think. But just to go back to that's why they just had the IST because everyone is figuring this out. Like, wait, why do we play 80 games a year when like the last 2 months of the season fucking suck? Whatever happens in there is Mickey Mouse. It doesn't end up mattering. We pretty much know. Really need to do this. I need to go through and see like what changes from like game 62 to game 82 in like a average season, like how much the standings shift or anything, like barring injuries. And I bet it like doesn't change at all. So it's just money. It's money. You know what I'm saying? Which obviously everything's money, but
to further this point, and honestly, deep down, I still think that I don't believe in the Sixers. But just to further this point a little bit with like the devaluing of the regular season, right?
Yeah.
The Sixers have the best net rating in the NBA right now. If you use cleaning the glass, which kind of works out some of the garbage time stats, they have the second best. They're just behind Boston in net rating. If you just take the games that Joel Embiid has played, and yes, he did miss 3 of their hardest games, so there's a little bit of noise in this. And also, it's still very early in the season and all that stuff. The Sixers have a plus 11 net rating in the games that Joel Embiid has played. They have sat him in the fourth quarter for 6 of their games that he has played so far. A third of their games where Joel has played have been absolute blowouts, including one against the Lakers, who just won the NBA Cup over the weekend. So they have a plus 11 net rating. That would be the 5th greatest net rating in the history of the NBA when Joel Embiid plays. And it's never been close to this before. Their offense is way better. Their net rating is way better than it's ever been before. And we can't even talk about them as contenders because of all the past playoff failures. Like it really does just take a team making a run to have that shaken from the public consciousness. But it's still like, I guess I shouldn't take anything from the regular season at all then, if that's the case.
Do you know who has the number one? Because it's 3, 4, 6 at the top of the league in terms of over the last 2 weeks, the point differential. It's Boston is 2, Philly is 3rd at 8.1, Oklahoma City is 4th at 8.1, the Wolves are 7.4 at 6th. Do you know who the number 1 team is over the last 2 weeks in point differential? They're way further down in the standings than these other teams that are all at the top.
The Thunder?
It's the Lakers. Oh. LeBron fucking turned it on for the fucking IST.
They destroyed the Pelicans in that game. They won by like 40. And then but to be fair, the Sixers have had in the last 2.5 weeks, the Sixers have had 3 they've had 3 or 2 blowouts, like destructions. Like they just destroyed Washington last night. But they've also had a bunch of close games recently as well. But it's like I guess my whole point on this is just like, okay, here are the teams that have finished with a better net rating than the Sixers when Joel Embiid has played this year. The 96 Bulls, the 97 Bulls, the KD Steph Warriors, the last Spurs championship team, and the Celtics in 07-08. The Sixers would be tied with the 91-92 Bulls for best net rating of all time in the games that Joel Embiid has played. And we just can't even take them seriously as contenders. But I have to act like Miami, who's like the 9 seed, is a contender because of last year.
One of the most Mickey Mouse thing. I mean, I think that's like one of the worst things that's ever been done for basketball discourses.
Exactly.
Miami getting like hot from 3 in that fucking series, and the Celtics going doo-doo mode and just all of that stuff. It's not. I'm feeling pretty confident. Clip me, we can go back and own
We're
me.
doing it again.
Bookmark it again. Bring it right back.
What are you gonna do? Stab me again?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you gonna do? Stab me again? I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now.
For
Not
anyone
happening.
who's watching or listening on YouTube or any other platform, all the people in the comments that are Celtics fans are screaming, "No!"
Yeah, they've reacted like I'm waving a gun around at Thanksgiving. You're all ruined. You're all scarred. Like you need to grow up. You need to realize the Jimmy Butler boogeyman. It's what's the Plato's cave? The Jimmy Butler Plato cave. He's casting a shadow on the wall for all of you. You're all looking at the shadow being cast by Jimmy Butler. You need to understand that he's done.
Until Jaime Jaquez replaces him as the next Jimmy Butler.
No. Jesus.
They were smart not to trade him for Damian Lillard, They beat the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Celtics on their way to the finals.
Can you imagine how revolting? I don't know.
My latest cope with the Heat is, but look at the other years that they made the conference finals. They were good. They were a good regular season team. They had good net ratings. They were top 4 seeds.
Yeah,
they were the ones.
The 1 year.
They were the 4 seed the other year. You gotta look at that. And then I just realized that I'm trying to use logic on something that is illogical.
Yeah, it's demonic. It's quite frankly demonic. It's like, well, hold on, Freddy Krueger can't kill you in your dreams. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would that happen? Like, it's just the evils of the world cannot be compacted into logic form fitting. The Heat are psychic death. To stare into their mind is to go. I've gone Lovecraftian insane having to watch the Celtics play the Heat every year for fucking 3 years. Like it really is so frustrating because they fucking suck and yet they still beat the Celtics, and it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. Oh God.
Well,
but that's all coming to an end here. The Miami Heat are 30. This fuckery can't go on much longer. Thank God.
We're sitting here 2038. So the Heat have just won their 5th finals in the last 12 years. But the other thing I did want to bring up was, speaking of the Heat, the thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that Spoelstra said Bam's missed the last 4 games, and they said that he has no timetable to return right now. Which part of me saw that and said, okay, that means that they're just saving him like they do every year with Jimmy Butler or Bam or some of these guys. They're saving him because they're smart and they realize, why are we busting our ass in December when we could just bust our ass from February, March, and April and then into the playoffs? But I don't know if this team is good enough to survive losing Bam Adebayo for, like, if he's out for a month. Like, I'm looking. I know they won. They beat the Hornets last night, which is another thing. They have the easiest division in all of basketball, so that helps them. They get an extra
have
game.
For like 5 years too. By the way,
the Magic are finally good after all these years, but they've been playing the Hornets, the Magic, and the
Hawks and the
Wizards.
Yeah.
The worst teams in the NBA right now are the Pistons, Wizards, and Hornets in the Eastern Conference. And 2 of those teams are in the Heat's division. And right now they're the 8th seed, the Heat. I once again, they'll just get into the play-in and do their bullshit again. But it is going to be harder to kind of do that this year. Like, the East is just, the whole league is just better, is what I'm trying to get at here. Like, it's not easy just to like skate into the play-in in the way that it was in previous years. Like, the East is right now, the teams that are around them, like, are the Cavs are 1 spot ahead of them. The Nets and the Hawks are just behind them. Like, I don't think that it's going to be incredibly easy just to make the play-in.
Yeah, no, there's going to be good teams in the play-in. Right now, the future 3rd seed in the East, the Hawks, are in the play-in. Like, it's competitive at the bottom.
The Nets are going to trade for Donovan Mitchell, which will make the Cavs worse.
Worse. Yeah, the Cavs are the 7th seed right now. So, and look, once the Mickey Mouse Pacers fall apart, they'll be back there in the
There you go.
play-in, and that's going to be tough. So.
We're going to have a 12-team play-in, according to Sam.
None of these teams deserve to make the playoffs. So the teams that deserve to make the playoffs are the Magic, the Sixers, and the Celtics. And I'm dropping my voice. Everybody else should be in the play-in.
The Bucks included, the 16 and 7.
Yeah, the Bucks are frauds. Get a 3.4 point differential.
Well, first off, you're just sleeping on the Bucks because they went to overtime with the best team in the NBA, the Zach LaVine-less Bulls.
Oh man, they really are the new RJ Barrett Knicks just dropped. Like,
yeah. Or another good one is the Tobias Harris-less Sixers, who went 7-1 last year.
Yeah. Oh god, that's so funny. It's very funny that Kobe White is just good now. That's like hilarious to me. He was like bad. He was like straight up bad for like 3 years.
For his first 2 years in the league, he was very bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of started to turn it around his 3rd year, and then last year he was solid, and now he's just been good. Like he's been. They've also played the worst perimeter defenses in the NBA. I do want to caveat it with that. They've played the Bucks, who have a terrible perimeter defense, twice. They played the Spurs. I believe they played the Pistons in this run. Like they've had a pretty easy schedule during this run. But hats off to him. He's been awesome. Like it's no shade towards Kobe White. He's been great. But yeah. So Slop dropped today, but it was literally just the same thing that we've been hearing for fucking months. Pascal
human
Siakam
centipede
might get
slop.
traded. Yeah, it's just
Raptors slop, human centipede. It's back again. Like
Zach LaVine to the Lakers. It's there's no new slop. We're until we get new slop. Even the Shams article coming out, it's fake news to me. When we get December 15th is in 3 days, we'll start talking about slop when new slop drops. But until then, we're going to hold off. We'll have a slop embargo, especially Raptor slop embargo, until we get some more information, and then we'll start pumping out the slop episodes. But on this one, we're going to go back a little bit in time here to do our best free agents signings from this past offseason. So we can do this draft style if you want. I have 5 names written down of guys I thought that have either outperformed the contracts that they got or have been surprisingly good on their new teams that have signed this offseason. I could start first if you would like with the first pick.
You start.
So you can cook.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the when I give him that option, it's because I know we didn't do the research, so I give him time, folks.
I have a full-time job, everyone. Let's
exactly.
I also have to drive an hour for work. I literally today I came upstairs, sat down in the chair, and turned on my thing, and it was
exactly. So anyway, Sam is being lazy, and
let's just say Trill is a small business owner. I am his disgusting, odious worker who's stealing time right now. I'm stealing time.
I was actually doing that. I was taking the first pick in the draft in solidarity with you, but okay. So the first pick in this is shocking. I can't believe I'm doing this. The first pick in the best free agent signing draft. I can't believe I'm doing it. It's Dillon Brooks.
Wow.
Dillon Brooks. I saw a stat earlier that blew my mind.
Okay.
The Houston Rockets this year. Now, some of this might be the fact that they hired Ime Udoka, the basketball fascist, who we have talked about. The Houston Rockets, led by their best defender, Dillon Brooks, have added in they have gone from last year they were 4.5 points per 100 possessions worse than the league average defense. This year they are 6.5 points per 100 better than league average, the second biggest improvement in the history of the NBA, and largely due to the fact that Dillon Brooks has been really good for their defense. I mean, now, like I said, some of it's Udoka. I'm sure some of it's just kind of the lineups that they've been using. But Dillon Brooks is their best defender, their best perimeter defender. He currently has a defensive EPM of plus 2.1. And he did have an insane shooting start to the season where he like couldn't miss a fucking shot. But still, for someone who has been kind of maligned as a ball stopper and a bad shot taker and all of this shit, empty calories player, so far this year, he's had a respectable shooting 60% at the rim, 38.8% from mid-range, 39.6% from three after his insane, he did have an insanely hot start there, but he has just been a kind of do-it-all wing, two-way wing for the Rockets so far. He's averaging 13 points, 3 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 46% from the field. Like, he's just been really good for them. And I do think that he is someone who, when that contract was signed, everyone thought it was terrible. He's making $20 million a year over the next few years, but it's proven to be, if anything, I wouldn't say it's a value signing, but it's been about the appropriate value for a really good perimeter defender who's solid on offense and has done a ton for them. Like, he plays 31 minutes a game, and he's been one of the best players on a team that is massively improved this year. So I got to give it to, I know they say you don't ever have to hand it to ISIS folks, but in this case, we are handing it to Dillon Brooks.
I am honestly like in shock that I'm going to get to make this pick. I'm going to pick Kelly Oubre with the second pick.
Let's go.
Because Dillon Brooks might technically be more impactful for his team, but you can't beat veterans minimum, man.
I had him on my list.
You can't beat veterans minimum, and I know he ever since that horrible accident he has been out, but I think he's coming back soon, right? So next week or something like that.
No, Oubre's playing. He came back. He's been
he
back
already played.
Yeah, last 3 games he's played.
Oh wow! So barely missed. I mean, plays at a position of need. Plays at a position of need without totally submarining his team, which has always been the concern with Kelly Oubre, like in the past when he's been on bad teams. And for a veterans minimum, I think he's a pretty open and shut slam dunk case just in terms of free agent signings from the last year. Especially when you consider the contract, the need, what he's doing for his team. I'm shocked to say this, considering I was cackling a little bit when the news came through, and we had the clip. But
if you go back and you watch the clip from when the signing first happened,
yeah,
I was obviously in shambles. I was like, why are they signing another guy who's just going to take away shots from Embiid and Maxey? It didn't make any sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've been surprised by Kelly Oubre is the fact that, one, he's an underrated defender. The fact that he's so athletic and he has good tools goes a long way on a team that needs athletic, big defenders that can defend point of attack. He's been able to kind of make his impact known on that end. And then in addition to that, he's a really good vibes guy. Everyone loves him in the locker room. I think that NBA players just respect a hooper. And he is a hooper, and seemingly a very good dude that everyone gets along with. And I think that was really big. But the other thing I said when they signed him was, look, I was not happy with it, but I said, look, all they need is the semblance of an athletic wing that might be playable on both ends of the court. And that is that has taken his stock from to all the way up here for this team, because he fills a massive need. And he's a willing 3-point shooter, even though, he's kind of an average to below average one. But the fact that he's willing to put it up on volumes, he's incredibly good at attacking closeouts. He's an elite finisher, which I didn't even know about him until he got here. And he doesn't pass the ball ever. Which actually has been fine on this team, because I think that this team kind of needs some, as Bill would say, some kind of I guess yes guys, but also the high confidence dudes. Oh, rational confidence guys, and he's been a fantastic play finisher. He's been able to get the team out running, and he's been a massive surprise for me so far in the season. He did start out really hot. He was shooting like crazy. He couldn't really miss. And he's cooled down a little bit over the last few games, to be completely honest. But he's also coming back from injury, like you said. But he's still averaging 14.5 points per game on 49.6, 35.4 splits. He's averaging nearly 5 rebounds per game and 1.3 steals, and he only plays 26 minutes per game. So this is a guy who's just going to give you high quality value two-way wing minutes on a team that desperately needs athleticism and size. So that's that. He's been a miracle. I meant to say this, or I think I might have said it during the first part. They're 10-1 when Kelly Oubre plays, and their only loss was the 1-point opening night loss to the Bucks when he played fantastic. So yeah, it's been a great surprise to me, and I was happy to put him on the list because I never thought that we would be here. But Morey's really good with the minimum signings still. He's a bastard, but he's really good with the minimum signings.
Yeah, he's still got it, folks, unfortunately.
Yep. So, all right. I did forget this one part. So Dillon Brooks obviously is currently on the Houston Rockets. Their other big free agent signing, who I didn't put on my list because he makes so much money, is Fred VanVleet. Do you know what Fred VanVleet is shooting at the rim this year, Sam?
I'm going to guess it's not good. Is it like 51 or something like that?
Fred VanVleet is shooting 34.6% at the rim this year.
Oh my God. That's impossible.
He's the worst finisher in the NBA this season. He's always been a little bit he's always been like low 50s.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Like someone might be hearing that and be thinking, oh, like 30%. 30% at the rim is like completely different from like the league average is like 60 or something like that. Like, oh my God.
Sixers fans hate DeAnthony Melton for his finishing.
Yeah.
He is currently shooting 45.7% at the rim, which is still one of the worst in the league.
I was gonna say that's still really bad, but
way better than Fred VanVleet. And currently Fred VanVleet is shooting better from 38% from 3 than he is at the rim. And the only other player in the NBA where that is the case is Dante DiVincenzo, who's shooting 37.2% at the rim and 44.2% from 3. So White Dante and Fred VanVleet in a class of their own as finishers this year in a bad way. But actually, it's amazing that Fred VanVleet, despite the fact that like he's incredibly inefficient as a scorer, he's like a good passer, not a great passer. His defense isn't as good as it used to be, and he still somehow has a positive EPM. Like he always is
crazy.
A positive in analytics. Like it's just incredible that he can be down across the board and still be like a slight positive in these analytics. But he's rigged the system, folks. Okay, I have my next pick, third pick in the best free agent signings draft from this past offseason. I am going to go with one Lonnie Walker of the Brooklyn Nets, another player that I didn't really get the appeal of when he was signed to the Nets, mostly because I thought that team already has a bunch of guys that can kind of, they don't have a ton of self-creators, but they have a bunch of athletic, rangy dudes who, you know, you can run offense through, and you don't really need someone that, you know, could just go out and get you a bucket like he can. But he started this year on an absolute heater. He's cooled off over the last handful of games, but he is currently has a plus 1.5 EPM. He's shooting 60% at the rim, 42.9% from mid-range, and a blistering 46.3% from 3 to start the season on pretty decent volume. Like, he's a guy that it's very funny because everyone always talks about like how smart the Spurs are. And I do generally think that they get a lot out of like young players. But he's kind of a guy that got away from them. Like, you know, he didn't really know early in his career, he was kind of more of a raw, toolsy guy, didn't really have a fit. He would randomly have games where he would pop off, but they didn't really know what to do with him. He goes to the Lakers last year, has this incredible run in the playoffs where he's honestly just destroying the Golden State Warriors in that series. And now he is just a very serviceable kind of bench wing scoring guy off the bench, kind of a 6-man type, might be able to start in certain situations. And honestly, I think that he's become a really nice NBA player. He's similar to Kelly Oubre in averages. He's averaging 14.6 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 48.9% from the field. He's playing 21 minutes per game, but just a solid all-around pickup. If I remember correctly, I think he signed for the minimum. So that's, along with Oubre, I guess that archetype of player, bucket getter, wing dude, like Oubre is bigger than Lonnie and a better rebounder and defender, but just like that might be the market inefficiency that Marks and Morey figured out, is like, no one wants these dudes who can just get you a bucket, but at the end of the day, the game is about a bucket. So good for Lonnie Walker. As D Bronx points out in the comments, he is another member of the LeBron James Rehabilitation Center for Lotto Bus to Success Story pipeline.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see him. Reading guy, obviously, we root for him here. But yeah, no, he's had a really nice year for the Nets, and it's good to see him kind of get back on track.
Yeah, I think he's done good. It's so interesting to see. I think of like him and Cam Reddish as being like very similar guys. And Cam Reddish was another guy that I kind of took a look at for this exercise, and I gotta admit, I had no idea Lonnie Walker was shooting like that from three.
He was shooting like over 50% to start the season. He was insane.
That's so silly.
But he did in the playoffs. He had that like run, and I was like, all these guys that I made fun of Sixers fans for being like, just get him because he's from here. I always make fun of the Sixers fans for doing that, and they all just like have breakouts. It kind of goes back to what we talked about with like Shaden Sharp and like a lot of these younger athletic dudes who have really good touch.
Yeah.
You have a 10-year career if you're hyper athletic and you can shoot. Like that's kind of how it is now in the NBA, and that's a really valuable skill set to have on a good team. Yeah.
It's pretty good. I gotta say, boy, I'm a little bit turned around about this. I think what I'm gonna end up doing, it's not great, but I think the next one I'm gonna be picking, we've said his name already at this point. I think I'm gonna go with White Dante, one of the worst at rim finishers in the NBA. But here's the cheat code. Here's how you beat being one of the worst at rim finishers in the NBA. Is you shoot 42% on an almost 70% three-point attempt rate.
70%?
Yeah, it is. Let me get the exact number here for you. It's like 70-something% is his three-point attempt rate. Yeah, 71.4 three-point attempt rate. So, you just shoot threes all the time, and it ends up fine. And, he chased Quentin Grimes out of the starting spot for Tom Thibodeau.
He's starting for them, yeah.
He's starting for them now. $10 million for a bench guy, that's okay value. $10 million for a starter, that's real good value, and a lot of times the new NBA, good players get traded. They don't get signed away from teams. Jalen Brunson is going to be like a huge outlier for years and years to come. Like it needs to be a weird situation like that, like Dylan Brooks. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys where there's something strange happened at their last stop for these guys to not get the money from the team that they're coming from. So you go to this next tier of splits for guys, and it's going to be a lot of guys like this. Like you just need a guy like your little $10 million signing to hit, and that's what Dante DiVincenzo has been this year for the Knicks. So
yeah, and he kind of surprised me last year. He revived his career with the Warriors. He's another guy that I always made fun of Sixers fans for being like, why do you want Dante DiVincenzo? Honestly, we got our own version of Dante DiVincenzo and DeAnthony Melton. Like they're kind of similar players. They both can't finish around the rim. They're both really good volume 3-point shooters. I think Melton's a little bit better than Dante just because I think his off-ball defense and his general creation ability is a little bit better, but similar-ish players. And to get that player for, like you said, $10 million a year, it's completely useful, nice player to have on a good team. And it is really unfortunate for the Knicks right now that they are currently struggling through losing Mitchell Robinson again for two more months.
Besides Brunson, I think that's the worst injury that could have happened to them.
It is the most important. But Hartenstein's probably the best backup in the NBA, or at least top 3 or 4, I would say.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
So they at least have that. I think that the backup minutes are going to be tough for them. But you're right in terms of how they want to play. Because the way that they want to play is they want to generate a ton of offensive rebounds and create extra possessions. And Robinson's defense has been really good this year. So you really are losing, definitely one of your more important players, I would say. So, that's a good one. I have another guy I could do that I'll save if you want to do one more pick after this. But the guy that I wanted to pick for this is honestly, it's not a guy that's from here. I have another guy that's from here on my list, but it's a guy that I've wanted the Sixers to go after for a while, and he got snatched up by another team, and that is the only player who has left the Miami Heat and somehow gotten better, and that is Max Strus.
That was next on my list. Yeah, I was picking between him and White Dante.
Yeah. Okay. So Max Strus so far this year, he started the year much better than he's played recently, but he's currently averaging 14 points, 5.4 rebounds, 3.9 assists. He gives Cleveland an element of spacing that they really were lacking before. He is only shooting 36% on threes this year, which is around his career average, but he puts up 7.7 per game, which is insane. Wow. Yeah. And he is someone that is just going to provide a ton of spacing. He's just a good all-around basketball player. He's sneaky athletic because he's a white guy. He's someone I think can hang on the defensive end of the court, and he's shown that in the playoffs at different times because he's got decent feel and size, and he's actually, like I said, sneaky athletic. So I think Max Strus is someone who is a really, really valuable 4th or 5th starter on a good team. I still don't know what's going on with Cleveland, though. Like, you guys play Cleveland tonight. They're still kind of a mess to me. Like, I'm like, I watch them and I just don't really know what to make of them. I don't know if it's the fact that, like, they've had a bunch of injuries, or it's the fact that they can't seem to figure out whatever's going on with all the new guys that they've brought in. But they seem like a team that they've been the most disappointing team in the NBA to me this season. I thought that they were going to solidly be one of the top teams, and they're still fighting in that play-in range, and they just can't seem to really kind of get on the same page. But Strus, an undeniable win for them. George Niang, not nearly as much.
No, but I mean, I think it's helped their team. I mean, I think if they were still depending on Isaac Okoro to give them those minutes, like, I think they'd be in a lot more trouble. Like, when I've watched the Cavs
right now too, he can never stay healthy.
Well, I was going to say earlier when I was watching the Cavs, I was surprised how much better Okoro looked to me, like at power forward, like,
like they have the extra spacing.
They just need that wing shooting so bad. So, like, even Niang, who's, like, not a 3, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can still be like he can still provides that spacing that they need so fucking bad. And again, I think Jared Allen is going to sneaky be available this year. Like, I really do. I think that they've got a real problem there, and I think they got to turn the keys over to Mobley as the thing that makes more sense. So,
do you know where the Cavs currently rank in offensive rankings in the NBA?
I don't think they're 30th. I'm going to say they're 27th.
They're 25th in the NBA, according to Cleaning the Glass, and offensive rating so far this year, 111. Darius Garland's also been like a turnover machine this year, which is he's not like a really high turnover player. So maybe some of this stuff will balance out as they get healthier, as they kind of find their roles over the course of the season. But their defense has really been carrying them so far this year. They're 7th in defense. I think Mobley and Allen are a big part of that, but it's also you're always giving up that spacing, and the thing that they figured out last year in the playoffs with when the Knicks were able to expose that. So I just think the fact that they're still down in that play-in range. Now, look, it's early in the season. They got a lot of time to figure it out, but as many people have pointed out, like the clock's ticking with them in terms of the Donovan Mitchell thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Jared Allen only to try to make like more win now moves. But like, it's really hard to trade a good player and get better. Like that's just Jared Allen, for as much as people clown on him, he's still a really good NBA player. And it's hard to trade that guy, especially when you don't have draft capital, and get a better player back. But it might be an addition by subtraction thing where you raise your ceiling. I think we talked about like maybe getting a 3-team trade for like a Jeremy Grant style wing, or maybe they could be in the conversation for the problem as we always run into with these trades is that everyone has a center that they like. It's like Portland just got Ayton and he's actually not even been their best center. Duop Reith, who I've never even heard of before, has been their best center so far this year. And then like Toronto just traded for Jakob Poeltl. So like you can't trade Jared Allen. They've been interested in Jared Allen before. Could you trade him for Pascal Siakam? Well, it doesn't really work like that. So it's really unfortunate that every single team seems to like their center. And that leaves a guy like Jared Allen, who's very good, not having a ton of trade value in the market. So we'll see what they do. But I do think if this doesn't get figured out, they need to shake something up before the deadline or fire their coach.
LeBron James is coming on.
We're just going to keep doing it. LeBron for Jared Allen, LeBron for Darius Garland, LeBron for Donovan Mitchell. We're just doing the same trade over and over.
So if you think about it, what are they missing? Because they've got that small backcourt. They need a defender. They don't. Donovan Mitchell's leaving. They need to get a defender in there back next to Darius Garland. Drew Holiday is a perfect fit for this squad.
So Mitchell's on the Celtics now in this case?
Or no. Drew Holiday is for Jared Allen and like I don't know, a core or something.
Yeah, I mean it's so tough to have the best net rating in the NBA. I guess I can't really say that anymore because I'm also. Our teams have very similar.
What if the games suck? What if the games are not fun to watch? People don't consider that.
I actually have had a lot of fun watching the Sixers. So
that's what I'm saying. That's the difference.
Yeah.
I'm in hell. Yeah. I'm miserable. Everything's turning to ash in my mouth.
My team with the top 15 net rating of all time is ruining my life.
Yes, exactly. You get it.
My number one
it's fraudulent. Team. I'm watching it be fraudulent. That's the thing.
Amazing.
I know.
All right. If you have another one, you can go.
I really wanted to pick Grant Williams, but even I can't make a fucking argument for him.
He started so well.
And it's been bad.
Yeah.
Ever since then. I'll do another one. This one is not as good. I brought him up earlier. I'll just go with Cam Reddish just because I think that
I had him as my last one. So there you go. Okay,
there we go. Yeah. So I was just gonna say Cam Reddish. The stats aren't great. He's never going to be a great stats guy. He's shooting like 32% for three or something like that. Like all of his stuff is like just 2-point shot making. But I mean, when I've watched,
he's not even good at twos either. He's just he's a defensive player now. Like he's remade himself into that.
Yeah. But he's, you know what I'm saying? He's taking them with confidence, though. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it is like one of those things where I'm watching him and I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like he has like a little bit of bounce to him. Like you need to guard him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's a total nothing on offense. I'm surprised how much respect he gets like in a game-to-game basis. So I think, he's like not good, but he is for a minimum guy, he's fine. Like, and I think that's the Lakers really needed one of those guys to come together. They probably should have been on Lonnie Walker, but like, he's really helped them bounce back from the disaster that has been the Gabe Vincent signing.
Yeah,
so
he's
far
the latest member. So far, and also he's injured too. In fairness to Gabe, but the other thing, he's a deflections god this year, Cam Reddish. Like he's just getting into passing lanes. He's causing turnovers for the team. He's getting the team out running. And this team, what I underestimated about this team, and we'll talk about them at the last part of this podcast. What I underestimated about this team is just when they are healthy, just how dominant their defense can be. And they're really carried by their defense. And he's been a big part of that. He's been guarding the other team's best player. He played great defense on Halliburton in that NBA Cup game. He's done it pretty much throughout the majority of the season. He's been able to frustrate guys with the size and athleticism, getting into passing lanes, like I said, causing deflections, getting the team out running. And he's still not the he's not the shooter he should be, I think. Because I think that he actually, he's a good free throw shooter. He's shown touch. I think that there is an average 3-point shooter somewhere in him, and he could get better at that as the season goes along, as he gets more open looks playing alongside LeBron and providing that spacing from the corners for them and just taking quality shots. Because that was really the thing that whenever Sixers fans said we should trade for Cam Reddish, my thing with Cam Reddish was always he thinks he's a star and he should be a role player. And now that is bearing fruit. That is he has proven that over the last few years, is that he always thought that he would shoot 29% from mid-range. He was a guy who just always took bad shots and fucked up the flow of your offense. But now that he's bought into a role and he's playing in that, like we said, the LeBron former lottery to successful NBA rotation player pipeline, it's been good for him. And I'm happy that he was able to kind of figure out a niche for himself and figure out a role here, because he was a big part of why they won that NBA Cup game the other night. So, yeah, I mean, for an old team that just needs a little bit of athletic juice, he's been kind of it's very similar to the Oubre signing, just he's not quite as good as Kelly Oubre, because Kelly Oubre is the god. But yeah, so moving on to the last part of the podcast here. Oh, I did just want to bring this up. Did you listen to Bill at all today?
I didn't. I couldn't do another Doc episode, man. One was fine. He's going back too much to that. He's he's the Andy from The Office with the beer me a drink, gets a laugh a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
The Doc podcast, it gets rave reviews a quarter of the time. The first time it was great. This is was this the fourth or fifth time he's had Doc on, and
he said it's the fourth time he's had him on this season, and I'm like, it's
Jesus
too much. And it's too much, and also the reason why I think Bill loves having Doc on is because Doc's the most agreeable guest he has on, and he just is like, yeah, no, Bill, all your ideas are great, and all of the things that
he's
you
a politician.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's glad handing Bill. He is the ultimate politician.
Exactly. Too much. I agree. Too much Doc. And on this episode, they talked about the same things that they always talk about. Which is, they ran across the NBA and they talked about certain things. They talked about the Clippers. And at one point, obviously, Doc has a wealth of information and knowledge about the Clippers. He coached them for a long time. Yeah. Doc also loves to take credit for everything that ever good that happens to an organization. He was talking about after he left Orlando and Grant Hill signed there as a free agent. We got them to get free agents. Boston got free agents after I left. And he was talking about the Clippers getting free agents because of him, basically. And during this, he was talking about when we literally were talking in the Discord before this. We were talking about Doc lying about SGA on this podcast. And I was like, I guarantee you, he says, I didn't want to trade SGA. And I told the team not to trade SGA, even though he benched him for Avery Bradley during his rookie season, and the team had to trade away Avery Bradley so that Doc would play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander more at the point guard position. But he said that he told a story on there where he said he talked about how he told Kawhi, he's like, you could ask Kawhi, as if Kawhi would ever remember this or say yes. And he was like, I said there's something special in that kid and I wouldn't trade him. He's going to be a star, I was like, he's such a bastard. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is I realized something earlier that's amazing to me. Mm-hmm. If Shai wins MVP, Maxey wins Most Improved Player, and Isaiah Joe wins Sixth Man of the Year, it will be the holy trinity of guys that Doc benched when they were young for players that were out of the league within 3 years. With Avery Bradley, he did it with George Hill and Maxey. He did it with He also did it with Shake Milton and Maxey at a different point. He did it with Avery Bradley and SGA, and he also did it with Isaiah Joe and Furkan Korkmaz.
Repulsive. I remember that from like Doc. I remember that from the Doc years. Like Doc just like not playing the young guys.
Yep.
I was sure. I remember him doing it to Avery Bradley is how old I am. I was like, we gotta fucking play Avery Bradley more. Like he's a good defender. We have no fucking juice on the wings. That's how long I've been watching fucking basketballs. I remember young Avery Bradley begging Doc to put rookie Avery Bradley in. Like,
was it Tony Allen, another guy that he did that to when he was early in his career?
Yeah. I wasn't paying as much attention. I think he did it with Rondo too. Like, you know
he
what
did.
I'm saying? Like,
Rondo was played like bench minutes his rookie year, but they were tanking that year if I remember correctly.
Yes.
It was 06, 07, and so he played more because Ainge probably said you got to play this kid.
Yeah,
and then he forced his way into the rotation because he was so good and they needed him by the 07-08 season. But it's the Maxey thing where he tried to shove him down. It's just such an old boomer coach thing that drives me insane.
Yeah, I hate that. Honestly, Brad Stevens would do that shit too, and it drove me fucking crazy. Yeah, it's just every coach does that. I think it's just regardless of who you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think of a coach that does that. That like,
Spo doesn't do that.
Yeah, I guess Spo's that.
So
yeah.
If
Spo the best coach in the NBA. So
if Spo doesn't play you as a rookie or a second year guy, you probably suck. Like that's like the truth. Like he pretty much gives everyone an opportunity, and Sixers fans are gonna tomato. But I'm kind of at that point with Jaden Springer where I'm like, I think there's a reason he's not playing. Like I'm the same guy that sat here for years and told you Paul Reed should be playing, Isaiah Joe should be playing, Tyrese Maxey should be playing. They've given Jaden Springer opportunities. He can't stay on the court. Like his offense is bad. And I think that if I don't know how Nurse has been like this with other players in the past, so I can't really speak to that. But I think that if Spo isn't playing you, then
yeah, I was gonna say I can tell you because Nurse was like an infamous case of this. But the thing is, Nurse might be vindicated because the guys that they wanted him to play fucking did stink. So
Malachi Flynn and Precious Achiuwa aren't good.
Yeah, so like, Nurse points to Nurse. Yeah, the Brad Stevens, the worst one, is playing Enes Kanter over Rob Williams, trading him away, and then signing him back on the team to play ahead of Rob Williams again. I was weeping blood. Like I was so mad. Enes Kanter sucked so bad, and he had like one primetime good game against the Lakers, and all the boomer Celtics fans were like, "Yeah, see, Rob Williams can't play."
Hey, he's a post up big. We need that, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly. You need back to the basket, guys. Fucking Brad Stevens. Anyway, Doc. Yeah. It's very hilarious that everywhere Doc's gone, like 4 teams now have had the Doc experience, and it's like, you rascal! Like
he'll get away with it again a year from now when the Pistons fire Monty Williams.
Oh my god,
he'll be the culture guy. He was talking about
that's gonna happen.
Phil asked him why the Pistons suck, and his response was just like the worst. Like he was just like, you got to create a culture, and you got. I'm like they suck because their players aren't good. Like
they suck. He should just blame Troy Weaver. Troy Weaver won't be there when he gets hired. Like you start sucking up to whoever the next GM is going to be. Like,
I'm also playing with fire here because the Sixers play the Pistons in their next 2 games, and if they break the winning streak, I'm jumping off a building. Or I'm sorry, the losing streak that they are currently on.
Is Duren's back now?
He's out again. So Duren's out, and we play the Pistons back-to-back games, and they've lost 20 games in a row. Yeah.
What's the longest losing? Could they put together a Miami Heat?
Sixers have both of the longest losing streaks of all time. Isn't that amazing? It's 26, but they lost them over the course of 2 seasons. The one time, and then the other time they did it during the same season, which is amazing.
Gotcha.
So someone said do we throw the game so that we have our record? We throw the second game. We win the first one. We throw this. We bench everyone for the second one.
You guys are up against Cade Cunningham. You might not have a choice but to win this game.
Cade's actually not been terrible recently. I've watched a few of their games. He's been much better than I had seen early in the season. But they still stink.
I won't know until the Pistons play the Celtics
there you go.
again, whenever that is. So I'll report back.
Well, we've been doing streams, and then we just follow the Pistons whenever they're playing because we want to see if the streak will continue. So we'll pop over, and Cade. I would be if someone wants to dig this up. Glad points out in the comments. We've been doing this.
Yeah.
In the first half, his stats must be like near all-star level. And then in the second half, he's like the worst player in the NBA. It's unbelievable. I've never seen it's like if you're watching a Pistons game, Cade will be like 7 for 10 with like 15 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, like all these, like he'll hit a 3, like all this shit. And then you check back in at the end of the game and he finishes with like 20 points on like 19 shots. And he just always, the first half versus the second half for him have been absolutely terrible this year. And it's something that I just want to keep an eye on because I do wonder if maybe it's him kind of getting back into shape after not playing for a year because he's been real terrible at the end, second halves and end of games. But yeah, so let's move on to the Lakers in-season tourney thing. Last part we're going to do here, which is the Pistons and the Celtics play on the 28th of December, which would tie the cross-season record of 28 losses in a row that the Sixers have. By the way, Sam. So
I'm excited. I can't wait for the Celtics to lose that game. I've like never if the streak is alive when that game I would bet the money line on that like so hard. I like might get a gambling app just
I was saying on the stream, I think the teams will get up for those games. I think teams will to not be the ones that know that like if we're talking like it's still alive a week from now. That was so embarrassing to have that record broken. The only team I remember when they lost to the Wizards like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, dude, look at their schedule. They might not win a game until 2024. The Jazz were the team on that schedule that I thought that they could beat, and they play the Jazz after the Sixers game. So that will be the real test. If the Sixers beat them in both games and then they lose to the Jazz, they're going to 100% break the record.
Let's go.
It's unbelievable.
Let's go, Pistons. Yeah. Let's go. Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So the Lakers are hanging the banner in the crypto, whatever it's called now, the crypto cave. They won the in-season tournament. AD on the biggest stage of all, balled out again at a neutral site. Scream to the crowd, I'm him.
Let's go.
And it's really funny. Beautiful. The hang the banner thing is funny to me because one, it's obvious that the NBA was like, you're hanging a fucking banner for this.
Yeah.
Because they said they weren't going to.
I like this because I get to make fun of the Lakers for this and say it's their second exhibition tournament win, and they have hanging in crypto.com arena. But that it is very clear that like Adam Silver made the fucking call and was like, no, we hang banners for our stupid in-season tournament. Yeah, it is funny that the Lakers are going to have to like deal with this for like a year because eventually this will be something that is established. Sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, look at our in-season. Like 20 years from now, like
no one will care in the same way that they do now.
A lot of teams will have them. You know. But it is funny that the Lakers have to do this while it's Mickey Mouse for like a year and a half.
Well, what I was saying was if any team except for the Lakers or Celtics won this, it would be a no-brainer that you would do this. But because the Lakers and Celtics have the most championships of any teams, it's a big deal that they have to hang something that isn't a championship banner.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I don't care. Like, I think what they're doing is what Sham said they're doing is they're just putting up a banner that says in-season tournament champions, and then it has like you could fill the years in. So it's like, all right, we won in 2023, and then if they win, they'll just add to it from that point on.
That's what my high school
Yeah.
did with our division wins, like in the Penobscot Valley Conference. It was like PVC champs, So yeah, I think that's honestly, I think it's probably fine, but it is like very funny to imagine. Adam Silver said, "Look, I know you guys don't have any money. You tried to take out the PPP loans. Here, I will pay you. I will pay you $2 million to
legitimize my in-season tournament idea.
Yeah, consecrate my bastard fucking tournament through the virginal blood of your franchise's winning ways. So hang the fucking banner."
I'm fine with them hanging the banner. I did think it was a funny story. But I also did you see Ethan Sherwood Strauss like victory lapping? He was victory lapping the semifinals being like not a good ratings night, but the finals were incredible ratings for a random December game.
He's such a fucking pocket watcher, man. Like he really is. Like every time the NBA does anything, he's so fucking pissed about it. He must have gotten fired or something like that. Like, I don't know. I did buy the Ethan Sherwood Strauss Patreon for 1 week exactly to listen to the KOC episode, and let me tell you, it was just as bad as I thought it was going to be.
It was worth awesome. It was totally worth all the money Sam spent. And also, I mean, first off, Ethan is clearly a soldier on our side in the fight against access journalism. So he clearly was denied access at one point to something related to the NBA. And now it is his life's mission to bring down Adam Silver and the fraudulent NBA. So he talked about it basically being, and honestly, like the first of anything is never going to be the best version of whether it comes to ratings, which like, sure, you could use that. Obviously the NBA is going to use that as a measuring stick for whether the tourney was successful or not. That's what makes the money. But before these big TV negotiations and all this money comes in, it is good to see they can create something that generates interest during the regular season that casual fans give a fuck about. It had I think other than Christmas Day games, it had the largest regular season rating for a game this early in the season during the final. And also just like it gives you something to look forward to. Like I thought it was a good product. Like people really gave a shit in the games. AD went all fucking out in this final game, a guy who famously does not give a fuck about half of the regular season and kind of floats in and out. Like, and they call him alternating days for a reason.
Yeah, we said this from the beginning. Like honestly, the only problem I have with this is it occurs too early in the year. Like it really needs to be like after the trade deadline, and then. But I think that makes it hard with the scheduling because like part of the scheduling is like that you don't know who's going to go where, and you've got to like have games left on the schedule where everyone can play everyone else, and that's like a lot harder to do at the end of the year. So it's a scheduling issue, but it is funny that Ethan Sherwood Strauss tried to like victory lap. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be wrong about ratings getting worse? Like everybody's ratings are getting worse all the fucking time. Like the fucking TV is dying. The streaming thing is collapsing. Like obviously everything's always getting worse. Like you've got to like that's a easy money. You've got to like really get owned to be wrong about that the way he was too. Like that's the funniest part. Like it's usually a pretty good bet that ratings are going to get worse, and it just didn't.
Exactly. So. Yeah. No. The finals turned out to be a pretty big success compared to what I had anticipated, and now the Lakers look. I think it's like I don't care about the Lakers winning. I would have been happy with the Pelicans winning. I don't really give a fuck, but I do think that it does give some legitimacy to the in-season tournament, the fact that LeBron James was the first one to win, and everyone knows the Lakers and everyone knows LeBron and AD. I think the fact that they won the first one does give it some legitimacy in the eyes of someone who doesn't follow the NBA on a day-to-day basis. Like they won, everyone knows LeBron. He's the greatest player of all time. He won the first one. Like, and yes, it was rigged for them to get it.
Yeah, no, if the alien from Independence Day that they cut open wrapped its tentacles around Adam Silver and like slammed his face into the glass and talked through him and could only tell the truth, it would say like, I want the Lakers to win this tournament. That's like the best case scenario for the league is like pretty much
of course happened.
So
yeah. No, it's definitely very good for the league and for the future of the in-season tournament, which I think that a lot of people that are going to take feedback on this, I think that they will end up choosing to move it back in the future. I think they'll try to have this more kind of similar to what we talked about, either ending during the Christmas and New Year's break or sometime in January or February or whatever. But I think that they'll realize that this is a way to get eyes on the NBA during the regular season, especially like if they did it right after the Super Bowl. Like I think it would be really big.
That's the thing is I forget that Adam Silver is one of the biggest fucking cowards in the NBA and is always ducking not just the NFL but college football, and that they're like scheduling around that. I'm still mad about like the Saturdays. I get that like where because I just do not care about college football at all, and I get that it's like a bigger deal for some other people, but I'm so mad that there's just like not NBA games on a fucking Saturday. Like, come the fuck on, like. I work during the week. I want to watch a game. God damn.
Saturday. I mean, Sunday after the in-season tournament, they had no games, and apparently they used. I think I don't know if they did it this year. I think the NFL admitted to using AI to make the schedule. I think that they at least in part did in the NBA sometimes this year, because there are certain days where it's just like I look at the Sixers schedule and I'm like, why do they have like fucking 6 games in 11 days or like 10 days? And then they have like 4 days off randomly. Like it can drive you a little bit insane throughout the course of a season. But all right. By the way, while this podcast was happening, there's breaking news. The Capitals and the Wizards are expected to move to Northern Virginia. The Wizards are leaving DC. They're going to be in Nova. They're building a new stadium.
Nova?
Yeah.
Is that a suburb? I've
no,
never heard
Northern
of
Virginia
suburb.
is no,
I was gonna say,
Nova.
I was like, what is that near Arlington? Where the fuck is that? Like, yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. Ted Leonsis is announcing it tomorrow. Our king.
Where are they gonna be have it? Is that Alexandria? Like, I'm trying to think of like where that would
Potomac.
Be. Like, Potomac. Yeah, I guess maybe
Potomac
something
Yard.
like that. Okay,
that's where it's being announced tomorrow. Yeah. So,
okay.
RIP to all the ravenous Wizards fans in downtown DC that will be missing out. They know no one gives a fuck about the Wizards.
So do they become the Virginia? I don't know, something
Squirrels. That was the name. Wasn't that the name of the ABA team? Was the Virginia Squirrels? I think.
Well, they could become the Virginia Bullets, sponsored by Raytheon. I'm just saying. Like,
Sam,
it's right there.
They were going to be our next sponsor. I forgot to tell you.
Oh, fuck.
Damn it. It's going to fall through now because you made that joke.
But at least we still have the Halliburton one. At least I didn't say anything bad about Halliburton and bad things.
If you're a Pacers podcaster, you should try to get a Halliburton sponsorship.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it.
We're all going to die anyway, largely due to companies like Halliburton.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, do you want... Tyrese Halliburton almost doesn't need anybody out there with him to do his damage. Much like Halliburton's new drone series coming to you soon from... Sorry. I'm so sorry. Forgot this was the Patreon episode. Oh my god, I got in my cooking bag a little early.
I'll allow it. Speaking of, I got everything wrong about the in-season tournament. I literally got one pick. I did one pick. The Bucks winning against the Knicks was the only pick I got right. Everything else went to complete shit, including you picked the Lakers to win though. I picked the Pacers to win on the Patreon episode.
Oh, yeah. Did we?
You picked the Lakers. I picked the Pacers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That'll make sense. But when we did our straight up ones though, I think I also only got one right. I think so. Yeah.
We both shit the bed.
Yeah. Oopsie.
But
oh well.
Yeah. If you watch that game though, does it change your opinion about the Lakers at all?
No, not at all.
You're dying on the hill.
They are who I thought. Yeah. This is what I expected. Like they're good in like small spurts. I think they can win a series. I just don't think they have they're matchup dependent. They need there are certain teams that are going to blow the doors off them, and I don't think that their best guys can stay healthy and play good over like longer stretches of time. I think the in-season tournament is perfectly calibrated to like cater to them specifically, which is why I picked them once they came out of like the other side there. So once it was clear LeBron was taking it seriously, it like they made a lot of sense. It's like
they play the Mavericks tonight. If they lose to the Mavericks, they will be, I think their record, I'm not positive on this, but I think their record was 8-0 in the in-season tournament, or were they 7-0? And they're 14-9 overall. The last game doesn't count towards their actual record, but I think they're going to be, if they lose this game tonight, I think they'll be 500 outside of the in-season tournament, or worse than 500. I honestly, I don't know what their actual record is, but their in-season tournament, they're the 96 Bulls. Like, they're just unbeatable apparently during the in-season tournament games. But the absolute last part about this that drives me insane, because I was definitely way too harsh on the Lakers when the Sixers blew them out. They're better than what I said. Obviously, they won the in-season tournament, and yes, LeBron carrying is a big part of that. Them having good health, sure, but I do think that this team probably, if they can stay healthy and get right, can probably win a playoff series. And it is going to be really tough in the West, man. Like, the West is fucking deep as shit right now, and there are certain teams that I would take over them in a series if it started today. But they'll be able to fight with the best of them. I don't think that LeBron is quite top 5 level, but if he can kind of pace himself throughout the rest of the regular season, I like their chances in a random playoff series. But the AD shit drives me insane, because AD, he's a player that I will say I've given him shit. A lot of people have given him shit, national media people especially, because remember at one point Anthony Davis was supposed to be like basically like what Embiid or Jokic have become. Like, he was supposed to be like this all-time MVP, multiple MVP guy, top 5 player in the league. And some of the stuff derailed his career was injuries, and it's not really his fault that happened. But it is really frustrating that he gets to go out on this stage that is like designed, like, he wasn't their best player up until this game. And then he absolutely dominates a perfectly tailor-made matchup for him against a small Indiana Pacers team that he can just out physical and dominate inside, puts up these crazy stats in this final game.
The guy up against him is like talking about how he builds Legos before the game. Like just one of the most Mickey Mouse matchups of all time. I'm sorry. Like, a Disney back at it.
And he fouled him out of the game.
Literally up against guys playing with toys. Like, come on.
He had 41 points, 20 rebounds, 5 assists, 16 of 24 from the field. He was unbelievable on defense. All the credit in the world to him for that game. But I just feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes when I'm looking at their schedule. This is what he did during the in-season tournament. 27 points, 16, but that was a blowout. And 41 points. In the few games leading up to it, he had 18, 19, 16, and then 20, 26 in the other one. Like, he knows when to show up for his legacy's purpose is what I'm trying to get at here. Like, I saw people being like, oh, he's better than Embiid, he's better than this guy, he's better than... And then I'm like, this is just perfectly manufactured for Anthony Davis. Like, he only has to try for a little bit of time, and he can dominate, and then he can go back to just being kind of like a nice top 15 player in the NBA.
Wow. Congratulations to the Lakers for finally taking the titles lead from the Celtics, by the way. It's really sad, but I have to concede at that point.
Thank you, Lakers.
You know, some people look. Some people say, oh, you can't count the Minneapolis titles. You have to count them. Some say you can't count their 2 fraudulent Mickey Mouse Willy Wonka titles. Sorry, you got to count both of their fraudulent titles. So that are identical, that are the same, and that they're fake. And
you want to talk about fake gold titles?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How many
real
titles
quick
anyway, Celtics won the last
40 years. Bill Russell was playing against gods. Russell Westbrook. Everyone was Russell Westbrook. Everyone says Kuzi was like a stronger Westbrook. If you watch some of his ups and his high, he had a lot of pop on those dunks, those bounce passes. I want to do a little fun thing here before we get out of there. I want to do, like, I always like try to find like one little fun little stat I'm gonna try and do this from now on from episodes where I want you to guess something. And today's fun little stat. So we're talking about 20-year-olds in the NBA. Okay. Sorted by VORP. I'm going to start with the sixth 20-year-old in the NBA. I'm going to work my way up to second. And I want you to guess the number one in VORP.
Okay, 20 years old.
So so this is 20 years old, 20-year-old sorted by VORP. So Victor Wembanyama is sixth. Jalen Duren is fifth.
These guys are both 19, but it's their age 20 season. So
age 20 season, yes, sorry. Dyson Daniels is fourth. Brandon Podshimsky, Podcast is our boy is third. Kaysen Wallace.
Damn, that was going to be my guess.
Is second. Who is the number one in VORP 20-year-old season in the NBA right now?
Can I get what? Is it a rookie or a second-year guy?
It is a second-year guy.
Second-year guy.
It's very funny.
Well, I know it's not Chet.
Very funny. He's in the West.
Because Chet's going to be 21, or he is 21. He's in the West. Is it Jabari Smith?
It is Jabari Smith. Is number one, the number one 21-year-old in VORP. How did we get here? Jabari, credit to look, man. Ime Udoka might be a pervert. We don't know, but man, he's got that team playing. He might be a bad guy, but
they're hooping.
They're hooping. Jeez. You do not have to hand it under.
Yeah, exactly. Jabari Smith on the season, averaging 12.5 points on 48-35 splits, 8.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists. Good for Jabari. He's turned himself into a role player. He's still 20. Important to keep in mind, and he's been a big part of their success. So good for Jabari. And I look forward to see. They've just been one of my favorite teams to follow this year. So, all right, anything?
I was gonna say, did you know that? Do you know what the record is at home?
I don't think they've only won one game on the road, so they've got to be like close to undefeated at home.
Yeah, they're 10-1 at home.
They're almost as good as the Kelly Oubre Sixers at home.
Yeah,
10-1, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Let's fucking go. We're starting to get into the guys are getting sick of it part of the NBA season. So we're gonna start. Weird shit's gonna start happening in the NBA. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Let's go.
I'm
very pumped. All right. Take care. Thank you guys for joining us. I'll be back tomorrow night for the Sixers and the Pistons to see if they can not break the record follow on playback for more. So peace.
I'll try to join for a quick 20-minute
Let's
appearance.
go. Sign up for the Patreon. Bye.